A reporting quorum being present, the question is on the motion to report the committee report for a resolution recommending that the House of Representatives find William P. Barr, Attorney General of the United States Department of Justice, in contempt for refusal to comply with a subpoena duly issued by the Committee on the Judiciary as amended favorably to the House. Those in favor respond by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
No.
And the ayes have it.
Roll call,
Committee
Mr.
report.
Chairman.
The roll call is requested. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Nadler?
Aye.
Mr. Nadler votes aye. Ms. Lofgren? Ms. Jackson-Lee? Ms. Jackson-Lee votes aye. Mr. Cohen? Mr. Johnson of Georgia? Mr. Johnson of Georgia votes aye. Mr. Deutsch? Mr. Deutsch votes aye. Ms. Bass? Ms. Bass votes aye.
What?
Mr. Richmond? Mr. Jeffries? Aye. Mr. Jeffries votes aye. Mr. Cicilline?
Aye.
Mr. Cicilline votes aye. Mr. Swalwell?
Aye.
Mr. Swalwell votes aye. Mr. Liu? Mr. Liu votes aye. Mr. Raskin? Mr. Raskin votes aye. Ms. Jayapal? Ms. Demings? Ms. Demings votes aye. Mr. Correa? Mr. Correa votes aye. Ms. Scanlon? Aye. Ms. Scanlon votes aye. Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
Ms. Garcia votes aye. Mr. Neguse? Mr. Neguse votes aye. Ms. McBath? Ms. McBath votes aye. Mr. Stanton?
Aye.
Mr. Stanton votes aye. Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Ms. Dean votes aye. Ms. Mucarsel-Powell?
Aye.
Ms. Mucarsel-Powell votes aye. Ms. Escobar?
Aye.
Ms. Escobar votes aye. Mr. Collins? No. Mr. Collins votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner? No. Mr. Sensenbrenner votes no. Mr. Shabbat? No. Mr. Shabbat votes no. Mr. Gomert? Mr. Gomert votes no. Mr. Jordan? No. Mr. Jordan votes no. Mr. Buck? No. Mr. Buck votes no. Mr. Ratcliffe? No. Mr. Ratcliffe votes no. Ms. Roby? Ms. Roby votes no. Mr. Gates? Mr. Johnson of Louisiana? No. Mr. Johnson of Louisiana votes no. Mr. Biggs? Mr. Biggs votes no. Mr. McClintock? No. Mr. McClintock votes no. Ms. Lesko?
No.
Ms. Lesko votes no. Mr. Reschenthaler? Mr. Reschenthaler votes no. Mr. Klein?
No.
Mr. Klein votes no. Mr. Armstrong? Mr. Armstrong votes no. Mr. Stubbe? Mr. Stubbe votes no.
Has everyone who wishes to be recorded been recorded? Has the gentleman from Tennessee been recorded? Does the gentleman from Tennessee wish to be recorded? Yes. How does the gentleman from Tennessee wish to be recorded?
Mr. Cohen votes aye.
We have two more people coming.
Mr. Chairman.
In the middle of a roll call.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Georgia.
After all the eloquent speech today and we're talking, I forgot, am I recorded?
Mr. Collins, you're recorded as no.
Thank you. I'll consider it be a no.
Madam Clerk, how am I recorded?
Mr. Nadler, you're recorded as aye.
I wish to be recorded as aye.
Chairman,
The gentlelady from Texas.
how am I recorded?
Ms. Jackson-Lee, you are recorded as aye.
I think that's correct. Thank you.
Gentleman from Ohio. How is the gentleman from Ohio recorded?
Mr. Shabbat, you're recorded as no.
Mr. Chairman,
The gentleman from Rhode Island.
Mr. Chairman, is it appropriate for us to enter in a colloquy or in the middle of a vote or no?
It's the middle of a vote.
Then how am I recorded? That was what I was going to ask.
Mr. Cicilline, you're recorded as aye.
Thank you. That is correct.
Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman from Louisiana.
Mr. Richmond votes aye.
How many more do we have?
Mr. Chairman.
Who seeks rec? The gentleman from Maryland.
Could the clerk please tell me how I'm recorded?
Mr. Raskin, you're recorded as aye.
Thank you very much.
Who seeks recognition? How is Mr. Johnson of Louisiana recorded?
Mr. Johnson of Louisiana, you are recorded as no.
For the benefit of members and everyone else present, we have 2 members coming back from a hearing. We're going to hold the vote open until they get here momentarily.
Okay, never mind.
We're going to hold the vote open until they get here momentarily, hopefully momentarily. People don't have to keep asking how they're recorded. On this vote, everybody should be able to be recorded. The gentlelady from California?
Ms. Lofgren votes aye.
The gentlelady from Washington?
Ms. Jayapal votes aye.
And the two of you are very welcome to cast your votes. Has anyone else who wishes to vote not voted yet? The clerk will report. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, there are 24 ayes and 16 noes.
The ayes have it, and the committee report as amended is ordered reported favorably to the House. I now recognize the ranking member, the gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to Clause 2L of Rule 11, I hereby to give notice of intent to file dissenting views for the inclusion into the report.
The notice is duly noted. Members will have 2 days to submit views. The committee report will be reported as a single amendment in the nature of a substitute, incorporating all adopted amendments, and without objection, staff is authorized to make technical and conforming changes. This concludes our business for today. Thanks to all of our members for attending. Without objection, the markup is adjourned.